welcome to Seniors Alive. This program features interviews with people who work with seniors and also people who are seniors in our community leading very full lives. And tonight I have with me Terry Boyer, who is the owner of Interim Homestyle Services, which is a home help agency. And he is also a very active community volunteer in many different efforts. But what we're going to feature today is his role on the Area 4 Agency for Aging. So welcome, Terry.
Thank you, Judith.
Thanks so much for coming.
My pleasure.
So what is the Area 4 Agency?
Area 4 Agency on Aging is headquartered in Sacramento, California. It was one of 6 that originally started in the state back in 1973. And it encompasses 7 counties. And the counties are Nevada, Placer, Sacramento, which of course is the largest of these counties, Sierra, Sutter, Yolo, and Yuba. Mm-hmm. So back in 1968, when Lyndon Johnson was president, he formed the Older Americans Act. And so since those days, there's been a budget item for Older Americans Act funding to come to all the different states, and in this case, Area 4 Agency on Aging, Sacramento. Area 4 distributes that money out to the 7 counties based on performance criteria. Mm-hmm. I'll read their mission statement if you'd like,
sure.
and give you a little bit better of an idea. The mission statement of Area 4 Agency on Aging is to provide leadership on issues which affect the quality of life excuse me, for all older persons, mm-hmm. and to promote citizen involvement in the planning and delivery of programs and services necessary to ensure maximum independence and dignity for older individuals and functionally impaired adults. Mm-hmm. Pretty big statement, mm-hmm. But it's taking a look at promotes. I like the part, and it's the part that I'm involved in, and you were referring to, is citizen involvement.
Yeah.
You know, what we can do at the local level to be sure that we're providing the best services for the people in our county, and specifically those people over 60 who need a little extra help.
Yeah.
Can I correct one thing?
Independence and dignity.
Independence and dignity, yes, excuse me, Judith.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I was introduced as the owner of my company, Interim Homestyle. Actually, I'm the manager for, that's fine, for a group where it's headquartered out of Redding. So,
okay.
My offices are one of 8 offices that I manage the Grass Valley facility.
Right. I keep trying to elevate you,
right.
And in the last show I had Chris as executive director of Helping Hands. But and speaking of the last show, for people who might have seen the program last month on the shared housing concept, we did mention your name there, Terry, because both you and I have been involved as citizens to tackle this problem of not enough housing for low-income seniors in our community. And the idea that actually you had in one of our meetings of maybe urging seniors with large homes, many of whom you supply care to encourage them to rent out to one person as a lodger, a room for companionship and mutual assistance and support. So from there, then we talked about how the program has evolved with the Salvation Army, and we still are so glad you had that brainstorm.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the idea comes from this very simple thought process of making use, or utilizing underutilized assets, that mentality, whatever it is, and if something's sitting and it's not being used, then let's figure out a way, or if there's a need that we can use that asset for, such as a spare bedroom. I mean, there are many other examples that we're working on in the county that use that same philosophy. But thank you for acknowledging that.
Well, yes.
And I'm glad it's going so well.
Yeah, and we, of course, still have a lot of work to do on the more frail seniors. As you know, our current committee work is on that. So, what are some of the efforts locally that Area 4 Agency is involved in?
Well, I'd be happy to share those with you specific to Nevada County. Probably a couple of them that are the most recognizable would be Meals on Wheels, which is an acronym for, or a term used generically all around the world for getting a hot meal, primarily at the lunchtime, to seniors that have been identified in a geographic area. And we're able to do that right now through Gold Country Community Services, are overseen and receive funds from Area 4 Agency on Aging to be sure that the kitchen facilities and the staffing and all the requirements that would make for a good food program are met. And they're distributed with volunteer drivers that are that have signed up to deliver. I think we're right now about between 150 and 160 meals a day for Meals on Wheels.
Wow. And
good.
Meals on Wheels is always looking for volunteer drivers, aren't they?
Well, they are, and you can, if people are interested in television land out there, be interested in volunteering through RSVP, the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, or directly with Gold Country Community Services. And we can make those numbers available at some point, but that's the way to do it. And lots of folks are stepping up, and you know, you take one day a week, and maybe you deliver 15 or so meals, and it's also an opportunity, and Area 4 recognizes this, is an opportunity to check in.
Yeah, a welfare check kind of thing. Very important kind of citizen watchfulness.
Yeah, there you go.
On each other. Yeah. So I think a lot of people have heard of Meals on Wheels, but they probably didn't realize how the money from the federal government Older Americans Act goes down to Area 4 Agency and then out to the different counties. That's where
correct.
Meals on Wheels money comes from.
That's correct.
And how about other things that Area 4 is involved with?
Well, there are several. Telecare, for instance, which is a transportation system that's set up to provide transportation for those people that have maybe some medical challenges or some physical challenges that make it very difficult to travel in an ordinary automobile, a vehicle. So through an office in the community, we can an individual can call up and reserve a time for a ride through Telecare, Gold Country Telecare. I think that's one of our more visible. Everybody sees those Telecare vehicles out, and they're out there, on weekends as well. It's depending on when the people need to get to where they need to get to.
So when you think about it, the Meals on Wheels and Telecare enables people to stay in their own homes so much longer than would be possible otherwise if we didn't have these services. And I know that my mother, when she lived in her own apartment, initially was afraid to take Telecare. I mean, she just it seemed way too overwhelming for her to reserve ahead and all of the aspects, but the application and so on. But once we got the application done and she got used to lining up her transportation 24 hours in advance, she just went everywhere.
Oh, that's not terrific. That's great.
Yeah.
That's how it works. And of course, both with Meals on Wheels and Telecare, they're also looking for other funding sources and opportunities as well. And each of those organizations reaches out to the community in different ways. Certainly with, it's free labor. It's not free, it's volunteer labor, but that's certainly a very helpful way to be able to provide these services as well. Okay. Another service next to Meals on Wheels that's being done through Area 4 is we call it congregate meals. That generally takes place in a community center, and most other of these 6 of these other counties have a really built solid community center facility somewhere in their county. Nevada County is working very hard, and citizens like myself and many, many others are working through Gold Country Community Services to identify a center, if you will, or a place, a building where we can provide with a commercial kitchen and office space for the executive directors, as well as being able to open up to everybody who would like to come to lunch. That's now taking place at the Nevada City Apartments, basically behind Safeway in the Brunswick Basin on Old Tunnel Road. And it's limited parking, and there's some logistical things that are making that more difficult. So the board of directors is working diligently to see if they could identify another facility that'll be more accessible for congregate meals. But Monday through Friday, the High Noon Cafe is open, and delicious lunches are served at noon, high noon.
High noon, and that is through Gold Country Seniors.
Gold Country Community Services. It used to be Gold Country Community Council. It used to be Gold Country Community Center. It's continues to grow and to morph, if you will, into something that's really specific to Nevada County, and I think they're doing a wonderful job.
Yeah. How close do you think we are to actually getting some kind of community center?
Well, we're closer now since that I can remember, other than when we were at the fairgrounds for many years, and that just didn't work for whatever reasons. I mean, there's always political issues that go on, but there are some things in the wind, and I've been asked not to be too specific about where or when and why and all that. But why is because we need a place where we can, where people can go. It's accessible for people with disabilities. It's on the public transportation route that has a commercial kitchen. And that can be multifunctional, if you will. I mean, it'll have offices perhaps for other Area 4 funded groups like Helpline and RSVP, and that's potential. So we're all together in one place, an opportunity for more classes and more participatory senior activities as well. Yeah. So it's coming. So more and more as time goes along.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
May have
we'll have some announcements coming up shortly.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, I know where they are being held right now is limited, and my friend Courtney Ferguson is always excited about the programs they're having and the fact that people are coming to the congregate meals, and it's a good chance to socialize and get a good meal at the middle of the day. But,
right.
Yeah. So what other concerns, then, does Area 4 address, even if it's not visible in a community program? What other activities, when you get together with the board or whatever, the Area 4 group, what kinds of things do you discuss?
All right, let's back up just for a second, and I'll give you the configuration of Area 4. So Deanna Lee is the executive director of Area 4. Her office and her staff are in Sacramento.
Okay.
They then are looking out at the 7 counties, and in the 7 counties there is identified members from each county to join the governing board. These are primarily supervisors that come from their local government, or a supervisor's designee.
Yeah.
For instance, Nate Beeson of Nevada County, supervisor, and I are as a designee represent Nevada County on the governing board. So there are 17 members of that board. And what we do is we take the hard work of staff and the advisory council and make the executive decisions as to how the money's going to be spent. It's really fun because so much excellent work is done at the staff level and under Deanna Lee's guidance, and the 35 people that are part of the advisory council. So they come from the different communities. So for instance, in Nevada County, we have a group called the Adult and Family Services Commission. And the Adult and Family Services Commission reports directly to the Board of Supervisors. We're an 18-member group, and Kimberly Parker is from the Hospital Foundation is the current chairman. And we assemble once a month, and we take a look at the funds that are available from the county and how we can best utilize those funds through a very interesting RFP program. I mean, it's very well done. Request for proposal. So we work very closely with Allison Lehman and Social Services and with the supervisors. So so that's how I got involved. I was part of the Adult and Family Services. They said we need somebody for the advisory council, and I did that. And then when Mary Tucker retired last year, they asked me if I would be interested in the governing board, take her spot. I said big shoes to fill with Mary Tucker, of course. But so all the hard work is done at the staff and the advisory council level, and what they're doing is they're trying to identify those providers in each county who could do the best job to fill the needs as they've been identified. So kind of a long-winded explanation of how this all works. So we look at those proposals. They are evaluated very carefully, and then they're brought to the governing board, and the staff and advisory says, we think these people have done the best job of being prepared to do congregate meals, let's say. Meals on Wheels, or telecare. And throughout the 7 counties, it's quite amazing how many extremely qualified providers there are, and that many have been working with Area 4 for many years, but they still have to prove themselves every year. So, and it's
well, that's
overseen.
good to hear, heartening to hear. And especially because as we look at all of us baby boomers coming down the pike.
Yes, indeed.
And I know that certain people with the Area 4 have gone and given talks about how we're going to deal with the boom. What is your feeling about how we're going to be able to address, how well we're going to be able to address the needs of the boomers as we all get older?
Well, that's a very good question, and frankly, that's why I'm involved to the degree I am, and that there are many of us that are, because what you're referring to is the silver tsunami.
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard that term now quite a few times. Will Tiff, the chief planner for Area 4, has written the dual challenge, taking care of the oldest of the old today, and then preparing for the boomers coming down. I use that term as well, the pig through the python.
Yeah.
We have a timeline from people born between 46 and 64 are much like a big swallow of 79 million people coming through the timeline. And it's going to have an enormous effect. And we know this is a senior community. Well, let's just jump to Nevada County. We know that, as a matter of fact, statistically, it shows that by 2033, there will be more people over 75 years old than there are people between 1 and 17. So there's going to be a crossing of a line. I mean, basically, we're going to keep 25,000 people approximately, and this is a projection, in school age. And then all of a sudden, in about 20 years from now, we're going to see that we're going to be primarily a senior community. Now, what are we doing to be ready for that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a long ways away. Let's not worry about it.
No, it's a tsunami.
No, it's a tsunami.
Upon us.
It's going to be we don't fix the levees. We're going to be inundated with the lack of services.
With ourselves.
Yeah, ourselves. And we're going to be 80, instead of 65, or more, 80, 90. We're going to live longer. We know this is a statistic that's being shown. We're going to live longer, many more people in the centurion age group. And then the other side of the coin is that we're not going to be as healthy as we thought we were. And there's still
and why is that, do you think?
Well, as health conscious as we think us boomers are, there are still signs that are showing that chronic disease is going to continue to show its ugly head. And those diseases that can be managed, but that are chronic and not going to get better, are going to be prevalent in our population. So we have to be able to have the transportation and the food service and the socialization and all the other things ready to go, so that when that comes, as it comes along, we're not inundated with it and we're not caught unprepared.
Well, I think the kind of proactive planning that we're doing in, say, the SHARE program, where we're already encouraging people with space in their homes to share it with one other person. I think that's the kind of thing, and sort of the spirit of community building and we're all in this together kind of thing that I hope we will see in Nevada County with so many of us seniors here and people that tend to think kind of in community terms. That was one reason I was attracted to Nevada County when I lived in Minnesota and knew I was moving out to Reno, I thought I could commute to Reno from Nevada City till I got out here.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it looks closer on the map.
It did, yeah. But that whole community spirit is so obvious here when you come. And so how do you think you would like to spend your later years, Terry, given what you know about the resources? What do you picture you and Marianne doing?
Oh, how nice. Yeah, I think so. I mean, certainly we chose this place carefully 31 years ago now, or 35 years ago now, and this is my hometown. I'm going to be here. I can headquarter out of here, and I know a lot of other people share the same idea. I could headquarter out of here and go anywhere in the world. There's airports close. There's ways to get down there to travel. At the same time, I mean, it's a wonderful place just to live and not go anywhere. And the music and the arts and the culture.
People come and take vacations
right,
here.
They come here to vacation. I fortunately I built a house on the second fairway in Alta Sierra, so I'll be golfing until I can no longer stand it. And then I wish there had been more attention, frankly, to the ability for many of us to be able to transport ourselves around on bicycles and pedestrian-wise a little bit more. Those of us who live in Alta Sierra, I'll use that as an example. I mean, the only way to get to town is by automobile. I mean, you can catch a bus once or twice a day, but you'd have to get to it. So it's not the best system. And we know transportation is recognized as one of our biggest challenges, and it will be as those of us get older are not able to drive.
Yeah, well, now, does Telecare go out as far as Alta Sierra?
No. Oh, yes, yes, it does. It does, but it's limited.
And that is for people that can't walk to a bus station,
That's
really,
right.
or bus stop. So if you're able-bodied at all but don't want to drive everywhere, we're stuck, kind of.
We are kind of stuck. And we recognize it, and there's a transportation group that's working very hard now, associated with, this is off the Area 4 just a little bit, but there are other groups that are doing more to complement Area 4 as well. We formed a commission, Mobility Action Partners, that's headed up by Susan, who runs Gold Country Stage, and we brought people in from Washington D.C. They're part of the Easter Seals program, and we were picked as, this is so typical of Nevada County, picked as one of 10 communities around the country to do a study as to how we can improve our transportation capabilities and under a real good model and mold. So we're very engaged and recognize that transportation has to be dealt with now, and and we will find ways to solve it. We could talk the whole
time about this. Well, it's
issue,
important. In fact, maybe I should have her on the show sometime. But, partly it's just that we're hilly, and it's hard for people, even who live in town, to walk downtown.
It is.
If you have any kind of difficulty in walking, if you use a cane or whatever, it's very hard. And the sidewalks, as we know, are not perfect for walking either. So that's a big area to keep people from being isolated in
That's
the
right.
future.
That's the isolation. A lot of times, people retired here in the country, and that was 20, 25 years ago, and the kids are still remote. The adult children are still living elsewhere. Now, why is it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and why is mom not answering the phone? And that's, of course, one of the reasons a company like mine is in place, to give the adult children an eyes and ears and have a caregiver in place so that they're being watched over in their own home. But everybody's, the overall mentality is, I want to stay home as long as I can.
Yeah.
And so we got to get the houses fixed up correctly. So part of what we do with Area 4 is we support a home modification program.
We should talk about that.
Which is headquartered up by Freed. Freed for Center for Independent Living coordinates ramps, grab bars, whatever retrofits are needed. We also have, as part of Area 4 in Nevada County, information and assistance funding that comes through Older Americans Act, and it's under the guidance of Helpline now. And there's an effort going to be, you'll see over the next few months. There are 3 agencies now. I'll call them agencies. That's not really the right word, but organizations that are dealing with the information superhighway. How do we get the resource information to the people who need it? So we have Helpline. Susan Stratman does a phenomenal job with that. We have Dial 211, which is a new service to the county.
Yeah, which we want to really emphasize because it's so easy to remember.
Yeah, Dial 211 Nevada County is a marvelous program. And then we have the new Aging and Disability Resource Connection, which came from a grant that Freed earns. We have 3 very powerful databases and programs to get information to people who need it.
So if somebody needs information on meals, transportation, home modification, whatever, they can contact Helpline, or let's just say they pick up the phone and dial 211. Will that work?
Certainly, or go to the website and dial 211 as well. It's in place. It's operating. It's helping lots of people now. We're very proud of it, and it's going to continue to mature. I'll put it that way. It's going to become a place where anybody that needs something, has a question, is going to be able to get it. They don't have to call the government, because it's not the government's issue. It's the community's. That's what we're doing as a community.
And isn't 211 funded by United Way nationwide?
Partly.
Partly?
Partly.
Okay.
It comes through funding through United Way. It comes through the Office of Emergency Services.
Okay.
It comes through, which is Homeland Security. There are other funding sources for it as well.
Yeah. Very important, though,
Very
so
important,
that people at home know that they have a lifeline, literally.
They sure do.
Terry, you have given us a lot of wonderful information about Area 4 in our community resources.
Good.
And do you feel that there is reason to be optimistic for the future as we look at the demand on the community resources? Do you think we will be up to the order?
That's a good question. In all honesty, I think that the work that has been done in Nevada County to get us to this point, the fervor, if you will, the real commitment from the people that I'm in association with, yourself included, and many of the commissions and whatnot that are working hard to be sure that we're prepared. Yes, I'm very optimistic. I mean, I think this is one of the best places in the world to live. I've been all over it, and I picked it carefully. And it's where we need to concentrate now for the next, because this is a large group of people coming through. We're not the only county to suffer with this, but we have to be prepared. And if there's anybody out there that would be interested more, you can go to the area website, a4aa.com, to learn more about Area 4. Or my number's on the screen, and if it could be of help to anybody that has questions about how they could become involved.
Right. There are opportunities to be involved in all the boards of all these agencies, I suppose.
Sure,
If you're interested in serving as a citizen, there are many opportunities for being involved. So, Pierce Terry, I want to thank you so much for being on our program, and I want to thank the crew once again, Sam Mills and Adele Taylor, Gail Woodman, and Diane McIntyre, and I think Paul Minicucci's out there. Thank you, everyone. Terry Hicklin probably. We never know by the time we're sitting in here and the show gets all together. So thank you so much for coming to view us tonight.
Excuse me, Sir Legs-a-Lot. How's a girl supposed to go about her business if you've got socks in every single dryer in this joint?
Well, I suppose you're just going to have to wait. I should be done in 3 or 4 hours.
3 or 4 hours?